For our second model, we are going to make a box, the kind that might hold fruit, such as apples or oranges. There are any number of ways we might approach making this model, but I think I'll stick with the loop cut and slide. Let's plan our project. Let's make our box 3 feet long and 1.917 feet or 21 inches wide, and 1.542 feet or 18.5 inches high. We'll make the boards 0.250 feet or 3.5 inches wide and 0.083 feet or 1 inch thick. And we'll space them 0.125 feet or 1.5 inches apart. We will also model the contents that we can texture later. Open Blender and rename the default cube Box. In the Properties window, click on the Scene tab, then the Unit chevron, and change the units to Imperial. In the 3D Editor window, open the Properties panel. Keyboard shortcut the N key, and change the dimensions to x equals 36 inches, enter 36 IN. Y equals 21 inches, enter 21 IN. And Z equals 18.5 inches, enter 18.5 IN. By adding IN with no space, Blender will enter inches rather than feet, for which you could enter FT. Change the Z-axis location to 9.25 inches so that the crate will sit on the ground plane. With the box selected, outlined in orange, select Ctrl plus the A key, and in the pop-up window, select Rotation and Scale to apply the object transformations. Applying rotation and scale after making changes to the overall dimensions is important. It resets the rotation and scale to the default values of 0 and 1, needed to later apply more complex transformations. This would be a good time to save your work. Saving often allows you to go back and recover should you make a mistake. Create a project folder. I called mine Box. Save your file. File menu, then select Save As, and name your file box01.blend. Switch to right side view. Keyboard shortcut numpad 3 key. And select the Home key to zoom in on the box. Switch to Edit mode and select the Overlay chevron. Under Measurement, check the Edge Length box. Place a horizontal edge loop. Keyboard shortcut Ctrl plus the R key. Drag it to 0.292 feet from the bottom. Zoom in and use the keyboard shortcut, the G key followed by the G key, to drag the loop cut into position. If you need to reselect the loop of edges, use the keyboard shortcut Shift plus Alt plus left mouse button. Left mouse button to confirm. You can use the Home key to zoom out. To zoom in, it is helpful to set the preferences to have the Zoom to Mouse position activated. Open your Preferences window. Select the Navigation tab and check the Zoom to Mouse position box. Now when you position your mouse cursor over where you want to zoom and zoom, you will zoom to that location. Using the number pad period key, we'll zoom in to a selected object, such as the loop of edges. Continue adding loop cuts, placing them upwards, alternatively at 0.125 and 0.292 feet. Switch to Edge Selection mode if you are not already in it, and select the left edge, Shift plus Control plus left mouse button, to see the width of the boards and the gaps in between. Now let's add some vertical loop cuts to define the thickness of the boards. Place the vertical loop cuts on both sides of all corners at 0.083 feet. We now need to add some vertical loop cuts to define the corner supports, which are 0.167 feet square. Place 4 vertical loop cuts in the corners at 0.167 feet. We are done viewing the edge lengths, so we can turn edge length off. Keyboard shortcut the overlay chevron, then uncheck the edge length box. This would be a good time to save your work. Keyboard shortcut Shift plus Command plus the S key. Save your Blender file as box02.blend. Now we need to remove unneeded edges to further define the boards. We will start with the top. Here we want to create the outline of the side boards and of the corner supports, which we will make triangular to make more room for the oranges we're going to put in the box. Switch to Top View. Keyboard shortcut the number pad 7 key. Select the edges we don't need, as shown, and dissolve. Keyboard shortcut the X key, then select Dissolve Edges. Switch to Vertex Selection Mode. Keyboard shortcut the 1 key, and connect the vertices to form the angled corner supports. Keyboard shortcut left mouse button for the first vertex, then Shift plus left mouse button for the second vertex, then select the J key. Select the 4 center vertices and dissolve. Keyboard shortcut the X key, then select Dissolve Vertices. In Edge Selection Mode, keyboard shortcut the 2 key, select and dissolve the edges on the sides as shown. Keyboard shortcut X key, then select Dissolve Edges. The edges can be selected using box selection. Delete the edges from all 4 sides. Be sure to keep the end edges that define the thickness of the boards. This would be a good time to save your work. Save your Blender file as box03.blend. We now need to extrude the faces inwards to differentiate the boards from the contents of the box, in our case, the oranges. In Face Selection Mode, keyboard shortcut the 3 key, select the top face and extrude down 2 inches on the Z-axis. Keyboard shortcut the E key, then enter -0.167. This will be the top of the oranges that fill the box. Now select the side faces and extrude inwards 1 inch. Keyboard shortcut the E key, then enter -0.083. Extrude the faces inwards on all 4 sides. We can now remove the unneeded faces and edges. Delete the faces on the bottom of the box, as they will not be seen when the box is sitting on the ground. We can also delete the bottom faces of the sideboards, as they will also not be seen. Switch to Edge Selection mode. Keyboard shortcut the 2 key. And dissolve the unneeded edges. Keyboard shortcut the X key. And select Dissolve Edges. Select the 3 corner edges and delete. Keyboard shortcut the X key, then the E key. This will leave the bottom face to be filled in. Select the 2 edges as shown and then fill in the face. Keyboard shortcut the F key. Now delete the unnecessary edge. Remove the remaining corners. Switch to Vertex Selection mode. Select all of the vertices, keyboard shortcut the A key, and delete any duplicate vertices. The Mesh menu, then select Clean Up and select Merge by Distance. I had 24 vertices merge. Select and dissolve any unnecessary vertices. Select the overlay chevron and check the statistics box. I have 156 vertices, 264 edges, 97 faces, and 242 triangles. Check the face orientation by selecting the overlay chevron and then checking the face orientation box. All outward facing faces should be blue. If there is a red face facing outwards, flip it. Keyboard shortcut, select Alt plus the N key, and then select Flip. Save your Blender file as box04.blend.